Hey guys, welcome to the reading of Monologue 3 titled Who's Who. Life is now what I call about to get real. Currently a junior in high school, I love the sight of the white picket fence announcing our arrival of another year spent at a school where work study was mandatory and Sunday service was deemed urgent. The quiet was fire, voices all sounded like the floodgates had opened. As I traveled into my womanhood, I noticed my posture for worship, with too many inappropriate Sunday behaviors or gatherings of laughter. The school ensued to segregate us by gender, and some dorm parents patrolled aisles like it was prison, waiting to blemish our records for sleeping or even speaking. So when I wasn't discreetly laughing with friends or passing notes, I was really listening because my first line of agenda was to go share the good news with my mother and help save my brother from generational statistics. Later, as months passed, the school would have a massive celebration to commence its historical foundation. In 1909, there was a man by the name of Lawrence C. Jones. Could he be an ancestral relative? I thought would believe. Nonetheless, here's how the story goes. He was en route to being lynched by some white folk. It was discovered he could read. They thought, this Negro can teach. Open a book and show other folks some of what we know. They decided the educated black didn't deserve lynching, rather, he should start a school, home of peculiar children. And the miss was I, early 2000s, proud scholar. Maybe that's not a major detail to my details, but it's worth to mention because I know I was different. Computer chip was still glitching because remember, I'm trying to chalk my own story, balance between worlds of worry. I had to help my mother and save my brother, so I travel on. It's now time for class elections. I put my name on a ballot for class president and win. Tasked with challenges of leadership surmountable but achievable, I said, girl, you're built for this. I knew I was natural, but I was so invested in my mother and brother, I barely stopped for me. I rarely took a moment to notice. If you asked me who I was as a person, I would have said goofy, funny, smart, cool, those safe descriptions that didn't prescribe me outside of other folks. You think you're better than me depiction, conscription and voluntarily enlisting me at war to battle my self-help. In a dorm of girls, different but similar life experiences, all comprised a large part of my womanly DNA, each beautiful in a unique way. Looking back, we were all wretched messes, but one thing we had in common, we were all becoming women. I told you in the previous monologue, my ninth grade year, I was smothered in fear of this weird experience and was ready to sprint to a familiar place. But by now, these girls, their stories, this school, I was enthralled by their woman embrace. I would admire each and their gift as one found her voice of bravery and shined her confidence like a beacon of light, guarding the next to no longer dwell in the shadows of her tone. I adored her as she went from meek and mild to fashionably outspoken with softness. She awoke in another to just chill and think before speaking. While one was graceful and softly feminine, I admired she was so girly and neat and organized. The school's yearbook vote of most beautiful was her prize. I remember the one who smiled all the time, charismatic in personality. The 3 years I knew, I had only seen her anger a few. Often I wondered why her temperament was always so cool. One was unapologetic and honest in her truth, brave in dating, smart in school. Another still suppressed with aggression from her trauma, petite in stature, mighty in words. Her voice would never go unheard. She was the funny one, always with a joke or two. And then there was the one who was known to knock a girl down, only if provoked. So genuine and authentic, she was loud in school, but so sensibly gentle. I admired her balance while some had ball handles, could run for miles, and never seemed to get tired. Others introduced new cultures and customs. I had never seen hair as beautiful. I recall none, if any, with hair shorter than 18 inches. Lengthy conversations with one whose voice was naturally toned in softness. This girl was gifted with words, both intermediate and proficient. Never late on a comeback response. She was talented in semantics, witty, and also fashionably gifted. By now, I'm seeing a pattern in African women. I smiled at the sight of the dancer standing at 411, would command an audience as her feet moved to the beat. These girls, their stories in that school, taught me more than a thing or two. Who knew? That would be the impact they had on my womanly DNA. And while I soaked up the impact, there was still back home my mother I felt responsible to keep intact. Time is flying and the years passing. I'm torn in conflict to snitch on two friends. I don't know what to do. This is the first time experiencing between these girls. I can't choose. Both their emotions were high because of young men. Though one was in the wrong, but if I wrote a statement who started, she would be going home. I didn't want either to leave. I loved and adored them both. So on my note, I could wrote in conspiracy with my friend. I had on headphones and didn't hear what happened, hoping my statement wouldn't tip the scale into the judgment for exposure. Thinking maybe if neither can be proven guilty, both can stay. Maybe one would just move rooms was my logic. Looking back, the moment happened so fast, perhaps I was a coward. I don't recall breaking it up, but if memory serves me, as soon as it started, it ended. The girls next door heard the commotion, came into our room sprinting. Oh no, they did it. Expelled my friend, and now I'm on betrayers spectrum end. I realized in that moment someone had to be held accountable, and I should have been the voice of reason for them to consider a different outcome for which their behavior promised. We're aging and becoming more women than the day before. I'm now seriously dating from a distance. I didn't tell my mentor she wouldn't listen. The rule was I had to finish school before I could get a boyfriend. Her nephew in close proximity of age announced he was dating. I thought, hold up, let's wait it. I asked her what's the difference between him and me. As my suspicion served me correctly, she was too busy projecting, thinking she was protecting me from statistics she would constantly mention. I didn't want no damn babies. I was too nervous but still a virgin. But I think it helped when she became aware. My boyfriend back then was a black kid from a traditional two-parent household, never been arrested, didn't drink or smoke, grew up in church, lived in the burbs. For her, he got a pass, though she would say I should still date a white kid. Finally, a decent black boy. She was most familiar with my black brother, who was known in school to be bad or, for a soft stroke, misbehaved. Raised with no father, alcoholic mother. The kid was angry. Can you blame him? Now senior, it's time to consider college. Me and my girls start conversing and applying. Once more, time for class elections. I put my name on a ballot for class president and win. I honestly couldn't have told you why or what the student body saw to give me another try. Maybe I was more popular or cool than I knew. But I really took a moment to notice who glanced back at the mirror and me. I just knew I had fat cheeks and a 90s haircut. It was cute. Still struggling in that area because I didn't know about my hair. And it wasn't the length of other girls. My mother kept me in a jerry curl until I was 13. I remember the first time entering a beauty parlor. My mentor would take me faithfully every 2 weeks to select the style from a magazine. None that really gave from my youth, but I smiled each time I saw Miss Ruby. I was the youngest in the parlor amongst the age generation of women, always so neat and well kept. I enjoyed each visit as I listened and enjoyed each story of old wisdom. Certainly as a white woman, black hair was nothing she knew, but I appreciated she tried. It was her effort I admired to teach me about my blackness, to which I felt no connection to my magical power. So again, when I say I don't know why the masses of students selected me yet again to be their president, here's what I did know. Regardless the challenge, I would rise to the occasion and was elated at structuring unity amongst a group of students I grew to love. My mother's father has now passed. I booked her train to the funeral with no emotions. I had never met the man, and honestly, he was presented in the way of a monster, so I confirmed my mother's travel arrangements, traveled on into my womanhood. Now we are approaching graduation. Though I knew my father wouldn't be there, I didn't care. My mother showed as we all stood, decorated in strolls. She stood close at the end of the show, smelling of booze, while my friends came to hug me. I resisted tears for years. I didn't want our experiences to end. These people no longer just my friends, they became my family. As we each scrambled to find one another and greet and meet family, I was ashamed and embarrassed, so instead, I tried to hurry to the car, hoping my mentor didn't park far, so my mother wouldn't have to talk, because if I knew nothing, I knew she would call someone, shout a bitch quick. The coast is clear, and I'm still resisting tears because for the last time, I would enter the white picket fence and have my womanly DNA impacted by both men and women who became more than just my friends. I was so accomplished and proud. I had been chosen to participate in the city's local newspaper, top 5 seniors, president, top 10 GPA, then my mentor gonna say, if I had been to a bigger school, I wouldn't have placed. Still obtuse to obvious truths. I'm thinking, not only was that rude, but why did she compare me yet again to the white cheering? Nonetheless, college touring applications had been completed, and I had only applied to one school, MSU. I wanted to travel far, go to Fisk University. For some reason, it wasn't an option. The fence narrowed the far distance of my vision. The chapter of my story was over. We entered the gates, and sadness flooded my nervous system. My mentor put her car in park while we exited. I dreaded entering the home to the hill I belonged. I knew again I was leaving soon, so I was just hoping summer wouldn't be long. Now 18, my first sexual encounter with a boyfriend who also shared in his first time. I didn't know what I was doing, but I remembered the stories told, so I anticipated the hurt. Is this what it's supposed to feel like? And if so, I didn't want to do it anymore. I bled just a bit, but not at the flow of a cycle. I knew I couldn't speak of this with either my mother nor my mentor, so I went home. Days later, my mother found a condom and thought it was my brother's. I wasn't ready to tell it was mine, so I stayed silent. I buried the secret, knew it was a conversation I would never have with these women. I figured it was just going to be a moment when it became clear I was sexually active. Perhaps my hips would spread or my butt would grow. My breasts would swell, and then they'll know. But my body never showed those signs, so I traveled online, omitting the facts while each day I waited for my mother to remove her drunken cloak and show a sense of softness and patience. So I waited. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I must come before you and confess. Hold on, because my call is supposed to be tucked in. Okay, I must come before you and confess. Let me try. I'm using a teleprompter app, and I'm not able to look directly into the camera while reading from the side, but my brain is trying to put me into shutdown mode, or shall I say, it's trying to go into protection mode, and I am refusing to allow it. So it's currently almost 1 a.m. I am sleepy. I still have to shower. I have to prepare myself for work in the morning. But I'm making this happen. I said I was going to do this. I'm sticking to it. Thank you all for listening. If you have not subscribed, please be sure to click the subscribe button. Turn on your notifications. There's a bell that you click. It will turn on the notifications, and that way you will be notified whenever I post new monologues. I'm doing a total of 8. So I have 5 more to go. And I have a lot more. I have a lot more to tell. A lot more to tell because I'm only 18 so far. I'm now in my mid-30s. So much has transpired in life. I've experienced becoming even more. And I can't wait to share each and every honest, organic story. This is not me omitting information so I could present rhyme words. This is me being truthful and sharing my journey into womanhood. And it's not over. I can tell you now, it's not over. It's still blossoming. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still learning to trust in myself and in my voice. I'm still finding a love and passion for my art. I'm now able to consider myself artistic. I want you all to focus on the details. Listen to the different characters at play that have largely shaped my womanly DNA. Ladies, as we always do, close this thing out and say, today is the day you shall rise up, be fierce, be bold, be unapologetic.